Hello, and welcome to another edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joe Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and it is my pleasure every week to get to visit with some of our alumni in digital media production, in communication studies, and in our graduate program. We get to talk about where they are today. We talk about how they got there. We talk about their college experiences, and they're going to leave you with a little bit of advice on what they think are the most important things about being a student at the University of Central Missouri. Today, we get to visit with Olivia Gibbs. Olivia graduated in 2022 with a degree in digital media production, and she is now a producer at Fox 4 in Kansas City. Gibby, it is great to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good. How have you been?
I have been very good, thank you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I do want to preface, I'm on a very wobbly desk and my cats are very active. So
Okay.
I'm sorry in advance.
So if the camera falls, we know it was a cat, and we'll have to adjust to that.
Yeah,
That's
it was
all right.
definitely not my fault.
That's okay. That's all right. So you are working in television news in a very, very exciting climate right now.
Yeah, I have been in news for the last 2 years. I'm technically in the role that I was hired as right out of college, but I've moved around a couple of different shows. I'm a producer. So it's been really fun. It's been a learning experience for sure. And I'm a little bit nervous for the rest of this year in terms of what's coming. But we've managed to get through 2 Super Bowls. We got through the events that happened after this year's Super Bowl. So I feel prepared for what's coming. But I'm definitely a little bit nervous because the first election that I went through in my first year, I did not know what I was doing. And had to kind of learn on the fly. And fortunately, I have a fantastic boss. I have great mentors at work. So we made it work, but it was kind of terrifying.
Well, we never know what we're doing until we're actually doing it. So before we get into that, tell our listeners, tell our viewers your story. How did you get here? Where did you go to high school? Where are you from? What'd you do here at UCM? And then take us on to the present.
Okay, so I am from St. Charles, Missouri, which is right outside of St. Louis. When I was looking for colleges, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a high school English teacher, but I wasn't entirely sure. And so I was looking at schools with good programs for kids who didn't know what they wanted to do. And a lot of the schools that I toured, they were like, yeah, you'll take some classes your first semester and you'll just kind of figure it out. And at UCM, I loved the open options program. That was a big thing that sold me on going there, was because they had so many success stories. They seemed very excited about it, and it seemed like something that would help me figure out what I wanted to do. So I went to UCM. It was also a smaller school. I didn't want to go to any big schools. I wanted to be able to get to know my professors. I wanted to get to know the people in my classes. I wanted to join a sorority, and I had to fully fund my sorority experience, and I knew I couldn't afford those $2,000 a semester sororities.
Right.
So I had to go somewhere smaller, and UCM just felt like home from the minute I stepped on the campus. I sat at the Spin Pizza with my parents after my tour, and they were like, "What do you think?" And I said, "This is it." So I went to UCM. I went through the open options program, and open options really helped me decide what I wanted to do. In terms of a degree, it didn't really help me figure out what I wanted to do after college, but part of that is probably just me being indecisive, because I think what I wanted to do after college stayed within the same degree, but it changed every year. So one year I wanted to be a screenwriter, and still my ultimate goal is to be a screenwriter, but that's a really tough role to get into.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to figure out, how can I get there from here? And where I'm at right now helps me. I get to write scripts every day. So now I get to do what I've always wanted to do, just in a way that I didn't think I could, because I didn't know the producing role existed. Because I had only been doing reporter things. And I knew I didn't want to be on TV. I hate looking at myself. We actually shot something this week at work that I had to be in, and I could feel myself, like, I'm red-faced, I'm sweaty, my heart's pounding, I'm so nervous. So I know still that I picked the right role in news. The other thing was that I really wanted to make an impact, and that's why I originally wanted to be an English teacher, was because my English teacher made such a big impact on me in high school, and I wanted to make that same impact and have that be that same safe space for kids when they just don't understand life. But I had a sorority sister who said, if you become an English teacher, all you're going to do is grade papers. And I was like, well, I don't want to grade papers. I want to read books. I want to write. So I went a different route. My junior year, I interned at the Star Journal in Warrensburg, and I got to meet so many cool people in town who I would have never met otherwise. I still follow some of them on Facebook, and I get to keep up with some of the stuff that they do. And the Star Journal just gave me such a good perspective for news and for small town journalism, and just how vital it is to those towns, because some of those things, like, some people really look forward to their newspaper, and now it's only once or twice a week, but still it's nice to keep up with those things. It's nice to know that, like, somebody cares, somebody's going out and they're dedicating their career to this. And my work did a zip trip to Warrensburg a couple of weeks ago, which I missed you there, by the way. All of you. I
was on vacation.
DMP professors. Everybody was conveniently on vacation, but we got a follow-up from Retrograde, who we had featured, and they were like, hey, our business is booming now because of you guys. And even though I'm a producer and I don't get to go out in the community anymore, I see some of those things, and I know that I'm still making a positive impact. So in my role, I get to bring on guests and small businesses and people who may not have the budget to market their whatever it is. I just got an email yesterday that a woman who I had brought on, she has a program for young girls, an after-school program that's kind of like teaching them to be a leader. She emailed me and she was like, I got a huge group of women offering to volunteer for the program, and I never would have gotten that without you bringing me on the show. And same thing with, I had a food truck on, and the woman who owns it emailed us and said, it's always been my dream to cook food on TV, and I got to realize my dream because of you guys. So things like that are just so cool. And being a producer and not getting to really interact with those people, sometimes I'm kind of like, am I still doing this for the same reason that I got into it? And getting some of those, because my whole thing is I've just always wanted to make a difference, whatever way that I can. And now I feel like I am. And even though it kind of took me a little while, my senior year, you got a front row seat, but I did not know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in journalism so bad, but I couldn't figure it out. And this position opened up for me, and it has just been everything that I could have wanted it to be. I was so nervous that I would wake up every day and be anxious to go to work or just not want to go. And now I'm excited. I'm happy to see my coworkers. I get to be creative. I get to make an impact. So yeah. So I didn't always know I wanted to do this, but now that I'm here, I'm happy that this is the path that I took.
That's great. And, that's one of the things we talk about is we're storytellers, and we get to tell all kinds of those stories. And occasionally they make a big impact and they make a difference in somebody's life. And so I'm excited that you're getting a chance to do that and live that dream. You said that you eventually want to be a screenwriter. So you didn't start out in journalism, right? You started out in, was it cinema?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a double emphasis in cinema and in journalism.
Okay.
All right. Because again, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know. So I was just like, let me take every avenue possible and just explore everything that I can that I'm interested in. And in hindsight, I probably should have been live studio and remote, because we do some things at work that I am like, oh, I should have taken that sports class. Um, but again, I didn't know. I was trying to figure it out. My parents hadn't gone to college, so every semester I was kind of on my own in terms of picking classes. But it got me to where I wanted to be unintentionally
Well, and
or unknowingly.
it showed a lot of resilience, right? I love that you talk about you when you came to college, you really weren't sure what you wanted to do, and so you went through the open options program. First of all, our open options program here at the university is dynamite. That crew, Ken Schuler just retired, but he built that thing up. It did just a fantastic job with it. And I think a lot of kids, they come into college, excuse me, a lot of students, I call them kids because I'm getting older, but a lot of students come to college and they feel like if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to be wasting my time and spinning my wheels. And that's not really the case because you can get into those open options programs. You start taking some of your general education courses and trying some things out, and you can dabble here and there. You get free electives. So you're exploring a little bit. You're finding out who you are and then finding your passion. And so I'm really excited for you that you found it and you're so loving what you're doing today.
Yeah. Yeah. And shout out to Chris Howard because he was my counselor and he was fantastic.
Chris Howard still here doing great work for us. All right. So you talked a little bit about some of the things you were involved in here at UCM. You talked about the sorority. What else did you take part in while you were in school?
Oh, I don't know. The sorority was the main thing that I was a part of. I was a part of the newspaper for a little bit, and then my senior year, you conveniently approached me and suggested that maybe I try out radio. And so my senior year, I got to have a radio show, which was really cool and introduced me to a lot of people that I wouldn't have connected with otherwise. And I got to be the news director for The Beat, which was really cool because then I got to be connected with everything that was happening on campus each week. And I got to go out and kind of research events that I might not have known about otherwise because the sorority took up a lot of my time. But the sorority also taught me a whole lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't have known or wouldn't have learned if I hadn't been in it. But that was a lot of interpersonal like relationships because you throw 60 girls together and they're not going to like each other, but they're going to have to make it work.
But that's, I think, important because, we talk a lot, particularly in digital media, about making the stuff, right? You're making a television show, you're doing a sports broadcast, you had a radio show. So we're making those things. But we don't typically make those things in a vacuum. We're working with a team. And I kind of sense as a producer for one of the top news stations in a top 35 market, you're not working all by yourself, are you? You've got a team you're working with, right?
No, and humble brag, we are number one, but
outstanding.
No, it's a collaborative effort. It's listening to my anchors. What do they like? What does the target demo like? What does my boss like? It's a lot of it. It's kind of like a pyramid a little bit. So like, I guess I'm at the top. Like my ideas are at the top and they're trickling down a little bit, or maybe they're the other way. I didn't really think this through, but anyway, I'm kind of leading that ship and I'm coming up with a lot of the ideas, but sometimes maybe we have to do like a mandatory thing. Like maybe one of our partnerships is the Band of Angels. And so we do a lot of things with them because we have a partnership with them. Or one of my anchors is a really big fan of some of these bands that were pretty big in, I think, the 80s and 90s in Missouri. And so I don't know what's going on there, but he sent me all of the stuff. He set it up. He was like, hey, could we please do this? He was very excited about it. So we did it. So it's a lot of reading people and understanding what do they like, what are they going to be interested in, and what are the people watching at home going to care about? And my show is at 9 a.m. So the people who are watching at 9 a.m. are a different crowd from the people who are watching at 4 and 5 a.m. So the people who are watching at 9 is maybe they're retired, maybe they're a stay-at-home mom, or maybe they just have a job that they don't have to get to until noon that day. So I have to come up with ideas of what do these people like. So this morning we had there's a viral TikTok trend called sunburning, where you go outside, you don't put sunscreen on, and you get a sunburn and it clears up your acne. So we brought a dermatologist on to talk about why you should not do that.
Yeah.
But we get to do some fun stuff too. Like we had a food truck on earlier this week. We've had some boutiques come in. I had a coffee shop owner come in. It's cool because I get to be creative, but it is a team effort because I'm still kind of new to this show specifically, and the change was kind of abrupt. I don't have all of the contacts that the previous 9 a.m. producer had. So as we go along, sometimes I'm recommended people that have been on in the past who I didn't know that they existed.
Okay. So you're learning as you go, you're making adjustments. I like how you talked about the audience, because that's one of the big things we always preach about is your audience. And this audience is different from that audience. And this one likes this, but that one likes that. And you always have to be thinking about those things. And you're getting to apply all that, put that together now.
Yeah.
What are some of your fondest memories from your time here at UCM? Whether classes or activities or you were a bit of royalty at some point, were you not?
I was. Well, I was trying to be. Yeah, I ran for homecoming queen. I was my sororities candidate my senior year, so that would have been 2021, in the fall. And that was a very stressful but very rewarding experience. It was cool to lead a group that big. But I wasn't alone in it. My partner was very helpful. He excelled in the ideas that I was lacking, and he was very creative. Um, what else? So that was probably like a top 3 memory. I also really enjoyed working in the labs. My senior year. My senior year was a great year for me. That might have been the best one. But I really liked working in the labs because I got to know my coworkers. I got to know my professors on a better, like maybe a more casual level. And I got to know the other students. I got a little bit of a better understanding of the equipment. And I don't know, it was just nice to have that space. Like Tristan Borelli and I used to watch like The Bachelor on Mondays and things like that. And I don't think Tristan and I ever would have met each other if not for that job. And I love him and Noah Lampson. They are fantastic people.
And you didn't mention, you talked about that you were the news director for The Beat. You didn't mention that you won an award for something you did on there, did you not?
Oh, I did win an award. I won a Missouri, I'm gonna mess it up, Missouri Broadcasters Education Award
Missouri
for,
Broadcast Educators Association. Yep.
yes, for my newscasts,
For a
right?
story you did, I believe you interviewed Sarah Ray Rondo on a story for the hashtag Me Too movement.
Oh, that was with, what was their name was Tad. I can't think of their last name, but you're
That's right.
right.
You had a student on.
Yeah, we talked about the Me Too movement, it wasn't a conference, it was just like a meeting that they were having. It was kind of like an open conversation about it.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of insight that I wouldn't have, I guess, thought of. It gave me a new perspective for sure. And it was really nice to talk to them. I'm still friends with them on Facebook, and they're a teacher now. So I'm very excited for them.
Well, you talk about, the chance to tell these stories and make an impact. And when you did that story, you've never done any radio work or broadcast work. That's why you talked to me and I'd said, well, have you thought about doing anything with the campus radio station? Because you want to try some broadcasting. And I knew listening to you and hearing your newscasts and hear you do those stories, I'm like, she's going to be just fine. And so when you won that award, I'm like, yep, that's well deserved. She earned that one. So I was very excited for you for that.
Well, thank you.
So what is next for Olivia Gibbs?
Honestly, because I like where I'm at in my career right now, I've been very focused on my personal life. But career-wise, I want to keep building on the show that I have been on for I think 4 months now, 3 or 4. Um, I've worked every single shift at my current station, and this is my favorite one. So I'd like to stay here. The Chiefs are about to start up their season, so we do these Red Friday specials, and I have some really big shoes to fill from the previous producer, but I'm excited to fill them. I have a great 8 a.m. producer, and we have been kind of a team in working on building up some of these segments for these shows. That's the main thing that I'm focused on. Long term, I don't really know. Yeah, I'm kind of just looking to like the short term future at the moment.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't have, I mean, I love what I'm doing right now, and I can't see myself doing anything else at the moment. I know one day I'll get out of news because I work a 4 a.m. to noon shift and the rest of the world does not. Um, and at some point I will probably have children and their daycare doesn't open until like 7 a.m. So at some point, I don't think I'll be doing this anymore, but I really like it right now. I have fantastic coworkers. I get a lot of freedom at my job. There's a lot of trust in the things that I get to do at work. And I feel very lucky that I've built up that trust and that I've gotten to where I am, because there was a period at my job where I was like, I don't know if I'm built out for this. I was working nights. There were a lot of things that happened that were weighing on me pretty heavily. And I stuck it out, partially because I was in a contract, but also because I really like my coworkers. I liked where I was at. I just didn't love the hours. And some things changed. Some employees left. And so now I get to be where I'm at. And I don't have any complaints anymore.
I think you probably learned something about yourself there too, that, you're persistent. You aren't somebody who's just going to give up when it gets tough. You're going to stick it out. And sometimes that's what you have to do in this business. So good on you. So wrapping this up, I always like to ask our guests for a couple of pieces of advice, because you've been through the program, you're out there, you're doing it, you're living it. You have a chance to reflect on some of the things that you did or wish you had done while you were in college. So 2 pieces of advice. For a current student, what is something you would tell them? What's a piece of advice you would give to a current student? And for a prospective student, somebody thinking about coming to UCM to study in communication and digital media production, what would you tell them?
Okay, so for a current student, something about me is I hate being bad at things. And so anytime I'm thrown into something new, and I had zero experience as a producer before coming to this job, I hate being bad at things. And so I am just immediately trying to learn everything that I can as quickly as I can. And there's a lot of trial and error. And that's something that it shouldn't stop you from doing things just because you don't have experience or you feel like you might not be the most qualified person in the room. Don't let that stop you. Learn from those around you. If you see somebody in your editing class who is like leaps and bounds ahead of maybe the entire class, be their friend and don't let them go, and learn from them. Ask them for tips. How did they get there? What do they do? Are they just taking on projects because they're bored? If you see people who are excelling at what you want to do, be their friend and don't let them go. Learn from them. Don't treat it as a competition. I feel like sometimes we want to be the best and we look at the people around us as competitors. We need to look at them as friends and as teammates, because those people push you to be better.
I like that.
And for an incoming student, I would say be friends with Dr. Moore. And but just be open to all kinds of opportunities. I don't know if you guys are bringing back the 48-hour film fest, but go to that, be uncomfortable, put yourself out there, say hi to the person who's sitting next to you. I was very anti making friends in class for my first couple of years because I had my sorority and I was like, I'm in class to learn. I'm not trying to make friends. That's not the mindset to have. Make friends in class, study with them, go to Starbucks, hang out with them, ask them how they're doing. Don't be afraid to make yourself uncomfortable because it's going to you're going to go further by creating this network of people.
Well, Olivia, you've gone far. You've done a lot. We talk all the time about you're probably going to start in a small market, and then you jumped in there, went straight to Kansas City, and just blew that theory all to heck. So congratulations on all that you've accomplished. Keep up the good work. Very, very proud of you.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for being here. And thanks all of you for tuning in today. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/UCMMN, stands for UCM Media Network. You can also listen on Spotify. Special thanks to Jake Mager, who created our theme music. And again, this is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.